Yo, what's good guys, I'm Fire here back with a video, and today we're going to be bringing you guys another Madden 21 money play. This one going to be out of the gun bunch formation again, going over some unique plays at the end of the year. These plays also will work in Madden 22. These setups are all pretty just base universal things that would work every year, really just not even depending on the situation. But the play we're going to be talking about is going to be deep corner at the top. It was very popular in Madden 20. Definitely one of my most called plays in that game with how good it was. But we're going to show a no ability setup to absolutely destroy most coverages, not only for touchdowns, but also for big gains. There still are some other good plays that I haven't talked about. Tight end hook, I think I have not talked about that play. So let me know if you still want to see these videos, what other stuff you want to see before the end of the year. Still have some ideas, but I mean, we still do have a good amount of time before the actual game comes out, so we'll need some ideas down below from you guys. But deep corner, again, just make sure you run it on the wide side of the field. We'll be going over just a couple of setups for that. Just gonna run like a base cover 3, which it does kind of tie us into our one play touchdown, but we're gonna start out with just the basic setup. My favorite basic setup is going to be to streak B. And you can honestly run this stock. Now, the one play touchdown is not going to be the best stock. You'll see our next key adjustment, but you could run it stock like this and have success. You have a flat, you have a corner out. In this case, usually the corner out is open, so the one play touchdown really doesn't get too open when you're not going to smart out the corner out, which is going to be our next step. But the corner out actually does open up a little bit better in the case that you are not smart outing the corner out. That time you actually see he follows it, so kind of weird. I think it might depend on if the streak is bumped or not, but you will see different outcomes. That's to be expected, but that time you ended up seeing the corner out or pull over that outside third, open up the streak. One of the most basic concepts in the book, and this was the best cover 3 beater in my opinion in Madden 20. You could debate it with Y out HB swing, but honestly I do think this was the best one. Again, it's a tough sell, but yeah, very solid play. So going back to the other reads, let's say he deep halves your corner, your streak's not going to be open. Now if he deep halves, you could have your corner out open, but right off the bat you see our flat is going to sit there, so you're going to immediately pretty much force him to double flat every single play on that right hand side. And that comes with the next adjustment, which you can do, which you can actually end up just delay fading. I would double team this player, then I can roll out. Now, one of the problems I have is that sometimes that player that's going to be releasing off of your tight end is going to be releasing is very inconsistent out of that gun bunch formation. Can't really explain it, but sometimes he'll just release on his own, as you saw there. Probably a little bit further because we want to roll out completely before we actually release him, but that's fine. Of course, the meta in Madden 20 was, send 7. So of course there was a lot of max protect setups like this. You max protect, he probably sends 7, then you're able to roll out with escape artist, and then you can usually either throw back to X or throw it to RB. Again, a lot of man coverage, a lot of basic coverage where he's gonna have to choose one with his user, the corner out, or that player. Of course, there weren't zone drops, so things are a little bit worse out of this year, but still solid. And of course, that's not really the meta, because in this year's meta, you're not really sending 7. Some people do it, but this is probably my favorite setup for the play overall. Just getting to the point, you're gonna go ahead, put Y in a little option route, smart route RB, streak B, and then just snap the ball. I don't really use too much motion, but this is probably the better way to just consistently move him over. Now, right there, you do have to time it perfectly without Gunslinger. It is a tough throw with Baker. And again, the plays do kind of depend, but usually you're able to fit this streak in. You can usually throw it straight up, pass it over to the right a little bit, but of course we saw it work both ways, so whichever one you prefer, you can of course go ahead and do that yourself. So that's going to be your first read, of course, the streak route. Now you see Y is kind of already on a check and release hook. This option will just guarantee that he is sent out. Of course, it's zone coverage, so he's going to sit there, get into a pretty nice spot of the zones. If it is man coverage, if he mans up that running back, then he will break outside and he will probably get open regardless. So some nice stuff there as far as that is concerned. Of course, against zone, he can either, you're really going to have a high-low read between Y and X. Depending on the coverage, I've seen vertical hooks come down, defend the option route, leaving that in route open for maybe a high ball or something like that. Of course, this is some heavy zone coverage with 2 hook curls. Usually you'll be playing, especially if he's double flatting, which he might be forced to. He's not really gonna have any help in the middle of the field, and if it is, it might be a 3 receiver hook, which can of course follow like this tight end, can follow a couple of different things. Now, of course, running back apprentice or backfield master, you can send this running back out on a table route, and that would maybe be a better option if it's zone coverage, but this is fine. You also notice over on that right hand side, when you go ahead smart out that corner out, it's going to open up that flat just a little bit more. The flat already is open, but this just kind of guarantees that that curl flat's not going to be in the range and that he is completely taken up. Gives you about 7 yards of space to throw that flat route. And of course, you have the option to go ahead, catch it, run upfield, stuff like that. So definitely a solid route combination as far as this is concerned. Just the base stuff. Again, I can go with something like this, and I'll go back to this point, but you can kind of roll out. You notice he just releases on his own. It doesn't really let you. That time you see, if you roll out, your streak will be a little bit more open. So you saw me throw that interception on that first play. Of course, if you're able to roll out, that corner out is going to be just a little bit more open. Again, I roll out, and you see he's going to be completely occupied. Then you're able to throw it. Whereas throwing it from the pocket, you have to kind of fit it in with pretty perfect timing, which isn't always the case, as you know. But let's go to some other route combos. I want to showcase some other things you can do. The first way is going to be to leave RB on a stock corner route, and then you're just going to go ahead, hitch B, and option Y. So something like this, you could definitely go to snap the ball, similar to the flood play, but you just have hitch, option. That's one of the most frustrating route combinations to defend from a defensive standpoint. Just having an option route sit there, and then you add the hitch. If you want to get even more creative with it, what you could do is just motion Rashard Higgins out a step. That's going to put just even more stress on the user. It also might open up your receiver to get some more space in the open field. So definitely can play around with that. Some other things that I went ahead and did, I went ahead and potentially motioned Higgins out. Then I will like smart route B, or actually probably better to leave him on his route in this case. I guess it doesn't really matter, but I have been able in situations to potentially hit B on his little baby post right there. So you do have options as far as that's concerned. And of course, if I'm not necessarily trying to beat him in one play with our cover 3B or one play TD, I can motion Higgins out on his streak route. And this should open up your corner out even more, depending on what he's doing, of course, depending on the coverage. But usually I didn't want to motion out that far. Usually I'll just motion out one step. Of course, the outside third should take the streak route in that particular situation. Again, if they're deep halved, it won't really matter regardless. So that's something that you have to recognize. Now let's go to some other setups. You could go to some more max protect. Of course, one of the max protect threats is to actually just run this stock. So I kind of got ahead of myself, but I could just run it like this. Stock in a max protect situation. If it is stock man coverage, I can put B on a zig route. You know, heck, I could even put him on a backside slant, but I can either go hitch. Out of this max protect setup, I can hitch him. I can zig him. If I really wanted to, know it's stock zone, I could also flat him, you know, motion him out, throw the flat right there, and you see, depending on how far away the flat zone is, especially if it's from the linebacker slot, that's an easy pass that you can go to. Just be careful, because that is a high-risk throw, especially if your opponent's good at making those adjustments. So, of course, just a couple of ideas for you guys there. Going back to a mesh style of concept, which is a play we've talked about earlier in the year. You can actually kind of motion over Landry on this route. I would probably drag X, and I could actually run it like this. You have two deeper post routes. I can also smart out RB, which is probably the better option for this. You want a shallower crosser, but I could actually run the setup like this if I really wanted to. I could, you know, throw a backside option route, but what we're going to do for now is just put B on his little streak. Now, I'd probably motion snap as well, because this would probably be my go-to man beater. Of course, playmaker would usually be on Odell Beckham, but you just kind of snap the ball. You have a little crosser. You see if I'm able to escape the pocket, that crosser, corner out type thing, gets pretty good depth on the defense and should get over most zone drops unless they're playing, you know, 25 or 30, which would be our exceptions. But definitely a solid play. Again, I like to smart out RB. For this case, we were just going to drag X. If I want a quick snap, I can leave the deep post. I can even smart out it to get a little bit deeper, just get it out of the way completely. But at the point where it's running that deep, the post will do fine as the clear out. Pretty much the same thing as the streak. So you just motion him over, If it's man coverage, you want to motion snap him, so snap him right about here, although maybe a little bit slower, but you see here, I have the drag route, I have the crosser, that's both going to be open, and you can really pick your poison. In that case, also, the user's going to have to make a decision. Do I want to go underneath, or do I want to defend over the top? So definitely gives you some solid options. One of the better route combinations, if you ask me. Realistically, what you could actually maybe do, and I'm just going to try this out kind of on the fly, is I could actually maybe leave that deep in route, go with something just like this. I'll see if it works, which, yeah, it kind of works. The RBC kind of acts as a slant route, and you can actually throw him deeper. The flat will also do a better job of pulling him down, so you can really get creative. You can see that with just the stock routes, and again, this is no hot route master, so if I can put Y on, like, you know, angle routes, flat routes, ghost routes, I can get really creative. Also, potentially just throwing RB on a regular corner out can make this play even better. You still would have that quick snap threat, and it would be just a little bit more effective against man coverage. So that's pretty much going to do it for the video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you go ahead and smack a like button on the video. Subscribe to the channel down below, especially with Madden 22 coming up. Once that game comes out, you will not want to miss an upload from this channel. Trust me on that one. But follow me on Twitter. Link will be down below in the description. If your notifications are ever not working, I tweet out every time I upload on my Twitter account. So that's probably the best way, at least the most reliable way with the inconsistencies of the YouTube noties. But that's going to do it for the video, and peace. I'm out here.